community member asked me what there's to look forward to in terms of bullish catalysts for the Akash network. So I'm going to share the top 3 catalysts that come to mind that I believe is going to boost the fundamentals significantly. The first thing I'm going to mention is going to be the moonshot catalyst, which is Akash network's alignment with decentralized AI. There's a growing concern these days over data privacy, and decentralized AI is fast becoming a solution moving forward. Professor Viswanathan from the University of Texas in Austin recently gave a talk at Akash Accelerate that convinced me that DAI is one of the ways that we can advance certain areas such as healthcare. DAI incorporates a concept known as federated AI training that offers privacy-preserving features that is built into the process, which is vital to this whole movement. So in this theoretical slide, we own our sensitive data, and we have the power to share that data at will with various local models, which can then use that data to update a larger centralized model somewhere else. This way, there are clear data gaps between each layer, and the user can then choose which data to share with which models and where to or not to participate in, depending on their preferences or perhaps their incentives. And we can see this play out in companies like Flock or Prime Intellect, or I should say protocols like Flock and Prime Intellect come about, which focuses on providing the right marketplace incentives to pair out data owners and hardware providers and researchers and machine learning specialists all together to find hopefully the right incentive model so that everybody's compensated. And all of these guys, by the way, are running on Akash network. But back to the federated AI and healthcare example, once we understand the concept of basically walling off sections of the data that you want to share, we can see how this might be able to tackle the complicated nuances of healthcare with its many regulations and laws around data, right? So in this example, let's just focus on the cancer treatment center. So we want our patients to openly share their data with the hospital because they're getting their care from the hospital. So this hospital might have a local AI model that takes care of the locals patiently, and it might note some trends, local data points that they might find useful and send that out to the National Health Database. So there might be a National Health Registry AI that doesn't need to know the specifics of any of the patient data. They shouldn't be able to ask a specific question about any person's personal health records, but that won't be possible if the data it trains on includes that personal health record to begin with, right? So this has proven to be unsafe in previous data breaches, and it's happened again and again. And so this is just one example in healthcare, right, where there are countless others that people might want, in order to safeguard their data from the LLMs that are going to be more and more prevalent in daily use. It would be very nice if your AI copilot doesn't report to your boss the summary of all your browsing data, you know what I mean? So there's a large requirement and a large demand for this type of decentralized AI training, but where does Akash fit in, basically? So Akash is the only marketplace where it's fully permissionless, which means anyone can go on with the wallet and provide or purchase services from the open cloud. Now, most people miss the importance of this, especially in a post-AI world that is supposed to be filled with automations. So we really require these things to be permissionless, otherwise it slows the whole thing down. With Akash, any developer or AI agent, right, anywhere can just one day, 1 minute, 1 second decide to use Akash, and then boom, Akash is available to them on demand. This is pretty easy to understand on the demand side. On the flip side of that, the provider side, the permissionlessness is harder to understand. Like the value of it is harder to understand. So to try to illustrate this, let's consider our healthcare example. So local hospitals will definitely want to access the public cloud with their AIs, with their programs, right? And Akash Network will allow them to do that. And they would also like to retain full sovereignty over their data. And the only way to do that is to set up your own local service, right? Where the data lives in your own local, metal servers and not somewhere else on the cloud. So you can have your own servers, and you can also connect that to the internet. Basically at will, right? Everywhere else you might have to ask permission. So we don't really have to imagine this situation. It's already been done by the US government, using their own servers to connect to the cloud and then serving sensitive classified government data through it. So it's not that the government wanted to put their servers up on Akash and then provide and rent it out, but it's that no one could stop them from doing that. No one can stop them from putting a node up and being a part of the supercloud. Imagine they had to go and ask some corporate overlord like AWS or Google Cloud to connect, right? Imagine that the hospital does, and these corps have the ability to say no. This is a problem. So this is the value here that Akash gives in terms of permissionless access, and it's what makes me believe that Akash is the premier public cloud utility of choice, right? So when I say Akash is aligning with decentralized AI, let me expand on that. It basically started with the first subnet on Tau discovering that you can permissionlessly access the GPUs on Akash. And then after that, Neural AI came through and was open about using AI, which is possibly the second subnet on Tau to use AI, to use Akash. And then comes federated learning through Flock, then Morpheus AI, and then Venice AI, and then the whole crew then came together for Akash Accelerate this year, which is basically a huge homage to decentralized AI, with the kicker at the end, and that is when Professor Viswanathan dropped the news that Akash is also investing into an incubator focused on bringing, they said, 24 plus decentralized AI projects to market. So altogether, Akash is throwing in heavy with decentralized AI. And as these efforts start to pay off, this is what I believe is going to be our first catalyst. Catalyst 2 is about fixing up one of the biggest weaknesses that Akash has. Akash's biggest weakness is that it's very crypto in a non-crypto world. Akash sees a high drop-off point whenever it needs the user to provide a wallet to access its services. For normal crypto users, this isn't a problem. But for massive adoption, you're asking for someone to set up a wallet with passphrases they have to remember, KYC for a centralized exchange account so they can buy AKT directly if they're lucky. If they're unlucky, they have to buy something else like Atom, transfer to their wallet, go through a DEX like Osmosis for the first time in order to swap for AKT. Then they would have to IBC bridge their tokens to and from Osmosis, all before being able to click that easy one-click deploy button to deploy whatever the user wanted to in the first place about an hour ago, right? Tough sell. So the core team has been spending their time working on this new customer experience called Akash Console. One of the most anticipated features of this upcoming console is the ability for users to be granted AKT so that they can deploy whatever they want with full sovereign control. Finally, a try before you buy option for the network. Now this is a big deal because Akash's closing rate is closer to 98% once the user understands what Akash can do. This will fix a major friction point of Akash's sales funnel. Users would still need to do all the crypto onboarding stuff, of course, but they would have seen the light at the end of the tunnel first before embarking on all the hardships that they're going to have to do. Afterwards, there will be a tie to their existing workload from the Akash-owned account to the new wallet of their choosing. So the console is currently geared towards AI researchers, students, and people like that. However, once the infrastructure is made, others in the community can start to build upon it so that we can deploy many things via the console.
Our conversion rate right now for using Akash directly is about 98% of all the people we talk to. So 98% of the people that we talk to, when we show the product, immediately get it.
So the last catalyst I don't think gets enough attention, and that is the Akash Chat API. This thing is a sleeper. As a non-developer myself, I can't blame anybody for skipping over this achievement, but we now have an open source version of tokens available for developers to take advantage of. So not everybody is interested in renting out a rack of GPUs and running their own version of Llama on it just so that their voice recording app can work. So developers like that might sublease out those tokens from somebody else with those racks, right? And use their system and pay their way as they use their tokens, pay as you go. And this is how many apps have added ChatGPT or Gemini's closed source AI capabilities into their apps. Akash Chat API brings the power of open source AI to the table and lays out a competitive option to compete as our Web3 open source champions versus those closed source corporations. Just recently, Llama 3.1 was made open source by Meta and competes well with its closed source counterparts. So the edge and moat around the closed source AI companies are shrinking fast, and Akash is at the forefront of offering this shipped, ready to deploy by developers today. So this has the potential to catch on, and mainly because Overclock Labs is actually currently paying the bills for all the GPUs that are running the Llama to support the tokenization for these developers right now. But it's also augmented by the fact that Llama 3.1 is as good as it is. So as I stated when they first announced, even if free is not free forever, or it's free with limits, it is still definitely more than enough to whet the appetite for people to try it, right? And if your application truly outgrows whatever limits that free has, your ability to then deploy your own LLM model exactly like the one you were using under the free plan is literally at your fingertips, and at a cost that's going to be way more reasonable than any of the centralized guys. So I think this is a strong onboarding call to non-native crypto users, especially if the process is easy and simple with the API implementation. All indications are that it takes just a minute to get up and running, and it's all free of charge. And that's it for me today. So these are the top 3 catalysts I'm watching out for in the near term in order to see Akash reach fundamentally sound higher highs. We'll see you next time.